Hello and welcome to another review by the Peace Security channel. Word just got out that Comodo Internet Security Premium 7 is out in beta, so I just went ahead and grabbed a copy of it, and I'll be doing a short review of the user interface and the changes, as well as running it through prevention test just to see if its edges are polished and it's ready to be used. So let's get started with the user interface. As you can see, it comes with the gadget as in version 6 and 6.3. Now the major difference in this one is they have modified the home screen to make it look more Windows 8 friendly and familiar to a default Windows 8 user. So that is nice. It does come with the full functionality of version 5 and 6, so there's no point complaining about that. You can easily access the main settings from over here. Now, from what I can see, Comodo are moving more towards sandbox and not really depending on their intrusion prevention system, which is disabled by default in this version, just like the previous one. So by default you get the auto sandbox to you get it at partially limited, and you can go for fully virtualized, limited, restricted, untrusted, or blocked. However, I personally do not recommend changing these settings unless you are an advanced user. If you are, I would highly recommend taking it up to limited or restricted. Limited is where I run it most of the time, but otherwise, in case you're really advanced and you care a lot about security, I would recommend moving it to restricted. And as far as the host intrusion prevention system is concerned, leaving it disabled is probably the smartest thing to do, considering Comodo have decided they don't want to implement it. Now, if you do want to use it, I highly recommend you use clean PC mode. Otherwise, you'll be bombarded with a lot of alerts, which might be annoying to most users. So unless you're really advanced, you really shouldn't be turning this on. You'll do just fine with sandbox. From what I've heard, the intrusion prevention system is active inside the sandbox, and the sandbox basically sandboxes everything apart from the whitelist. So I guess that's fine. So you don't really need to enable this. Now, the underlying interface is very much the same. You still get to your advanced settings this way. This is the way it was in version 6, and that's the way it remains. So not many changes here. The user interface over here is still the same. The general color scheme has been changed, some cosmetic changes, but that's not really things of my concern. So it's still very user friendly, and it's still pretty much the same program. They haven't really added any real, of course, yeah, they do have a couple of new enhancements. They've got a website blocking feature, so it can block malicious websites right now, and it did ask me to install something called Private Dog or whatever. I'm not really sure what it does right now. You can obviously check it out at the Comodo forums. Anyway, we'll basically be testing it out and seeing how it actually works. You still get to switch between the normal view and the advanced view. So this is the way most advanced users like it, I guess, because it shows more content, but this is much more good looking. So you can choose between these things, and that's the best thing Comodo have done. You can fully customize this taskbar kind of thing over here to have the things that you need most. So it's still very similar to the last version. So let's start off with the prevention test. Keep in mind this is a beta, so the final version may have some improvements. So this is just casual test. You shouldn't decide whether or not to use the current version of Comodo Internet Security based on the beta test. So keep that in mind and enjoy the prevention test. So here's our first zero-day malware link. These are fairly fresh, so we should be able to see what happens when you know, things get past Comodo signatures. Anyway, this one appears to be dead. Let's try out the next one. Okay, this one's very much alive and dangerous. Okay, now Comodo has caught that. Now this is quite annoying, to be honest. I don't really like the fact that Comodo do this, but I really like the fact that they have this thing over here. Do not ask me this question again. So once you hit this, you shouldn't be annoyed anymore. So, you know, they have to do some kind of advertising, I guess, but that's fine. So let's continue. This is the third link. The problem with advertising like that is, you know, I'm an advanced user, so I know, okay, I just have to hit this button and that'll basically be it. But some novice users get all scared. Okay, do I need an expert for this? Oh my god, what do I do? That really can be annoying for users like that, and then they find out, well, I just have to hit no. But I guess people are used to it nowadays. So let's continue here. Comodo is doing some good work. It's caught 2 of the malware links and 2 of them are dead. So let's continue. Let's hope we don't have any more dead links. Okay, this one's a nasty one. Let's see if it's caught. It's really nice that they call the product Internet Security Premium and they give it for free. I mean, I don't know any other company that does that. Okay, this one's also caught. This is a worm. So that takes care of that. Let's continue. We've got some more nasty stuff. I hope this works. Yep. Okay, this one's also caught. Great. Let's try running this one. Java.exe, again, fake software. Get a lot of these days. I mean, there's a lot of malware naming itself as Java.exe, Facebook.exe, blah blah blah. That one was caught by Comodo, so if you have Comodo, you shouldn't be worried about things like these, I guess. Okay, this is a double extension, pdf.exe. Great. Okay, this one is sandboxed as partial limited. As always, I'll be doing the test in default settings, so I'm not going to change the sandbox setting. Let's run it, see if it can do any damage. It's not caught in the signatures, which is not surprising because it had a detection rate of like 6 in varstol, so that's fairly low. So let's see if it's still running in memory. Okay, I guess it's right over here. We'll wait and see if it does any damage. And that'll tell us how effective the zero-day defenses of Comodo are. So meanwhile, we'll try out the next links. I know there's a lot of noise in the background. Actually, this room is overlooking the street and it's really noisy out here, so I hope you guys don't find that too annoying. So this one's downloading fairly slowly, very slowly in fact. You know, some of these malware are hosted on several servers and most of them are like taken down, so the download speed becomes quite slow. So that does it, I guess. Okay, we have the last link. So here we go. I haven't really seen any website being blocked by Comodo so far. I did see some mention of that in the forums when beta was released, but not really seeing any of it in action. Be interesting to see what this file does. It's quite big. Okay, this one's also caught application unwanted. Great. So Comodo basically blocked everything, and one of the files it was unable to identify with its signature, so it sandboxed it, and that file has terminated, should we say? I guess that's fairly safe to say. I don't see that process running around anymore. And looking at the situation over here, this PC does look, you know, pretty normal. It doesn't really behave in any weird way. And yeah, the memory usage from Comodo is quite light. I heard a lot of complaints by users during the release of version 6 that Comodo Internet Security is really heavy. It's slowing down my computer like hell. But personally, I haven't seen any evidence of this. It's really light, doesn't take up much RAM, and as you can see, it's not using the CPU either. So I really don't think you should be concerned about the memory usage or CPU usage of Comodo. It's very light. So now I'll just grab Malwarebytes, do a scan, and see what we find. And we'll see what we find, and accordingly we'll give Comodo 7 beta the final verdict. The scan's just completed, and let's take a look at the results. First of all, Hitman Pro found comhost.exe present in, well, program data. Okay. Now, this is an executable. However, it's not running in memory. It was running in memory before, but it didn't manage to start up on its own. So, damage control by Comodo. No real threat right now, and Malwarebytes just found the same thing along with another executable, probably part of this program. So, you know, that's the nice thing about Comodo. It's definitely not foolproof. It does leave behind traces, but even when it's unable to identify the malware, the system remains undamaged. As you can see, we have these malware files over here. They're definitely malicious, but they haven't been able to carry out any of their malicious activities. And as a result, this system is unaffected. Apart from the fact that you can always complain, well, 500 kilobytes of hard drive space are being wasted. But apart from that, there's no real damage to the system. That is why I really recommend Comodo nowadays, because zero-day prevention abilities are essential, and Comodo does this thing really nicely. As you can see, none of these files were caught by the signatures, and they're still here on the system. They managed to get here, but they didn't manage to do anything malicious. They're not running in memory, they're not doing anything, they're not stealing my data, and as a result, as a user, I am protected. So that's really nice. Obviously, this is not as good as a signature detection because you still get these files, and you know, it's always nice to have your hard drive clean. So, but nevertheless, great work by Comodo once again. So, let's conclude this review by saying, well, as I said, nothing's perfect, and definitely with partially limited, the sandbox has plenty of loopholes and some malware. A very few malware might be able to bypass this and do some minor damage, but apart from that, the great thing about Comodo is it prevents damage being done to the system, even in the situation where it has no idea about the malware that has attacked. So, hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know I'm quite late on this one. It was released, I think this version of version 7 was released long back. But, you know, as I said, I don't really get that much time these days, so it takes me a while. Hope you guys enjoyed it. many of you might have downloaded this already, but it's always good to, watch a prevention test. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Like, comment, and subscribe as usual. And have a nice day. I'll talk to you guys later.